Hey guys, it's this guy on. Okay, it's on. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Headman of Cattle. My name, of course, is Mitchell Butumba Simata, aka the Induna Wengombe. It's been a minute, eh? Last video I did, I think, was on the tires, and then I uploaded the video on the show that I attended, the agricultural show, where I was watching how they're judging goats, savannah goats in this case. But I had to take a break a bit. I've been just overwhelmed. I've had to take a step back a bit on this agricultural channel. Started up a sports channel, which is slowly growing, not really getting the traction that it needs yet. I know everything on YouTube starts very slow and then builds with time. But like I said, man, we've been at this at 6 years. I mean, for 6 years, I've spoken to my big sister. At one point, I was even looking at just deleting the channel, like completely taking it off the internet, because I was like, hey, man, I've been at it. I've been at it this long, 6 years now. Nothing has given. And I'm penniless. But then I had to remind myself why I started this journey. It was about informing, educating, and entertaining, but not really much entertaining, more informing. Because I felt like, and I did a live talking about this, saying that I felt like so much information is not shared. When there's information shared, it's based on South Africa, not here in Namibia. So that's why I started in Dunawengombe. And it was thus far fun, man. I used to sleep at 4 o'clock. I used to edit, sleep at 4, wake up at 6 the next morning, and still get on it and do so much research. Like I have boxes here of my novels, some of my notebooks that are filled up, and then I have boxes here of magazines, Farmers Weekly, Agri Forum, which is a Namibian one, a Landbou, for African Farming, Fear Plus. Like I read all just to get information, and I'm subscribed to so many YouTube agricultural channels here on YouTube, and I'm also subscribed to many online press on agriculture. So I consume so much of it. So I felt I need to take a step back because, as many of you guys know, in 2021, I had to take a complete step back from farming. I stopped competitively livestock farming or even doing cattle or crop farming. So because of that, I think it's also now dampened my mood because I said, okay, I might not be doing it actively, but I'll use YouTube as a method to educate the next guy. And then I know many of you, my subscribers, would come in and tell me, yeah, go to the farms and do what. But I did speak about it in the live saying, look, I can go to a farm of a cattle breeder, but I need the cattle breeder to invite me to the farm. I cannot force myself to be there. Just like when I was at the agricultural show last week, I tried to interview two cattle breeders. One is a limousine farmer, another one is a Simbra farmer, and they were not willing to be interviewed. So, like I said, I can't force people. It's unfortunate. I know if I was in South Africa and I'll talk to these people, they're very interested. But Namibia, it's a different scenario. So I think they're scared of being interviewed or being on camera. But what is the reason that I want to shoot this one today? That I want to talk about this issue is the bird flu that leads to possible egg and chicken meat shortages in South Africa. As many of you guys would know or be unaware, there's currently an outbreak of bird flu in South Africa. How this would affect, because of course it's affecting the South African producers, because the South African producers, the mega chicken farms in South Africa, can't anymore produce to the levels they used to, or they do, because the birds are coming out sick, birds are getting tested, and birds are being culled, and they're trying to contain the outbreak before it spreads countrywide. So so I've had to just carry out research and then I had to look at how it would affect Namibia. Because knowing Namibia, this beautiful country of mine, we rely so much on South Africa. Whether it's the clothing we wear, this clothing, or whether it's the food we eat, or whether it is the products we utilize, like this plastic bottle, I'm sure it was made in South Africa, or whether it is things like I said, the food we eat, or the eggs, or the products we produce, or products we utilize, are all being either made or are all either being brought in through South Africa, and even electricity. Some of this electricity we are literally benefiting because of our deals we signed with Eskom and so forth. So I had to go do research talking about this bird flu outbreak. So let's get into this. As you guys know, I got my trusted notebook. More than 7 million birds have been culled within the South African poultry industry in 2023. Since the outbreak of the highly pathogenic HPI, the outbreak being described as one of the most devastating to hit SA since H5N8. Bird flu in 2017 has triggered fears that South Africa will soon be faced with extreme prices for chicken meat, eggs, as well as live birds. So these are the type of things. So then I had to go and look at it. How will this affect Namibia? As I said, Namibia being a gross importer of things from South Africa. Then I got the information. Namibia suspends poultry imports from South Africa after bird flu fears. Due to its proxy, South Africa was Namibia's preferred supplier of chicken, but the country also imports poultry from Europe and South America. I think the chicken dumping story that the South Africans are fighting about is also affecting us here. Namibia has suspended imports of live poultry, birds, and poultry products from South Africa following the spread of the highly pathogenic avian influenza (HPAI) in the neighboring country. The move, which takes immediate effect, was triggered by an alarming increase in the cases of highly pathogenic influenza. Namibia's agricultural ministry said imports and in-transit movement of live chickens, poultry, meat, eggs, and poultry, meat, eggs, and chicks from South Africa would be suspended until further notice. South Africa, one of the continent's major poultry producer, reported the first bird flu case in a commercial farm in April. According to an industry group, Namibia imports chicken from South Africa, but the country also imports poultry from Europe and South America. I'm literally regurgitating what I just said. Earlier this month, the South African Poultry Association, SAPA, said the nation was contending with two different strains of the virus, infamous H5N1 and the new strain identified as H7N6. Producers Quantum Food said last week that this year it had lost almost 2 million chickens with a total value of more than 100 million rands, which would be $5.2 million because of the disease. Bird flu does not typically infect humans, but H5N1 is increasingly infecting mammals worldwide, raising fears that it could pass on more easily to people, almost like COVID. The virus has typically been confined to seasonal outbreaks, but since 2021, cases have emerged year-round and across the globe, leading to what experts say is the largest outbreak ever seen. SAPA said the numbers of avian flu cases in South Africa this year was higher than in any year since the first outbreak were reported in a commercial farm in 2017. So I looked at the five biggest chicken producers on the continent. You have South Africa, of course, leading. You have Egypt, you have Algeria, you have Nigeria. So it's South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, Nigeria. These are the five. It's quite interesting that South Africa is the only one on the southern part of Africa. And then the rest are more northern and eastern and western Africa. But quite interesting that you got three predominantly Muslim countries, Egypt, Morocco, and Algeria. Then you have Nigeria there. Now, coming to how I would look at this as a Namibian, is something that we have always complained about, particularly when we had COVID 2022, 2021. We complained about the over-reliance Namibia has on South Africa when it pertains to food and other products, that Namibia should look towards it becoming its own industrial hub where we can produce some of these things locally here. And I remember the question was put to our president by a brave female journalist by the name of Ms. Shaligan Peterson, where Ms. Shaligan said herself that she asked the question, and the president said, the trade agreements that are in place that we agreed amongst ourselves is part of the reason why we are heavily reliant on imports from South Africa. One person on an agricultural group that I was on, because we looked at some of the products Namibia imports. We import cooking flour, we import flour, we import, I think, rice, we import sugar, we import tea, we import coffee. One person even said, I think the Ministry of Agriculture for Namibia should change its name to the Ministry of Food and Imports. That's what they're good at. I know we have trade and industry, but the Ministry of Agriculture should do that because it seems like they focus more on importing food rather than trying to produce them locally. And then this has also brought me to a question that I wrote on my um, Facebook profile, where I said that with this outbreak happening in South Africa, we could see an exorbitant prices, like an increase in price for eggs. Eggs, I think now are $70. The big tray, I think the small tray could be about 60 or 40 something dollars. It's been a while since I bought eggs, but because we usually just buy the big trays. So imagine this tray that used to go for 70, going overnight, it can go 80 or even 90 or even 100 rand now for eggs. Meat, chicken, poultry, chicken meat already is like 35 dollars in the shops, depending on the size of packet that you want to buy. Imagine that going from 35 to actually going to 65 or even 50, 35 to 40 or 60 or 50 or 60 dollars overnight. This could happen. Now, the people that are poultry producers, because I know poultry producers have to buy broilers. If you are a meat producer, if you are a guy who's in the egg business, you have to buy your layers. And many of us are probably importing our layers from South Africa. This could affect us. I do not know if we have the local capacity where we're able to produce enough broilers and layers for people to be able to set up their own chicken coops. This is what set me down, and I said, the Ministry of Agriculture, it doesn't take itself seriously. All it does, the Ministry of Agriculture behaves almost like it's just a referee. It does not take itself seriously because in the meat industry, we have Meatco, which is the national abattoir that does the slaughtering for the country. But when it comes to the poultry side of things, I don't think we have a national poultry abattoir. I think Nam Poultry is probably a privately owned business, owned and run by private individuals, just like we have Namib Mills and Namib Milk. These are owned by private businesses. Why don't we have a national poultry abattoir and a national poultry company that was created like Meatco subsidiary that was created that slaughters the chickens and supplies people with chickens? This is something that I keep on asking, that the Ministry of Agriculture gets money. These are some of the things that they can actually sit down and say, we can set up our own, uh, let's say, state-owned poultry farm, and we can breed these things, build it to a capacity where we can breed broilers, layers, and whatever people need. So people don't need to be importing chicken from even South Africa, because I'm sure now the chicken farmers are probably going to, if they buy from South Africa, they can't because the government has shut down that importing from that side. Now they might look at Botswana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and probably Angola to start importing chickens from that end to come and finish them off here and then raise them to a point of slaughtering, raise them to a point of laying eggs. So it really leaves it leaves so much to be desired when it comes to the Namibian poultry industry. I remember the Namibian Competition Commission had to step in to actually regulate some of the pricing some of these big chicken companies do, because I believe they import. And I would not be shocked if I find out that this big poultry producer here in Namibia is actually a subsidiary of Astra Foods or Rainbow Chickens. I will not be shocked, because this is the thing in Namibia. So if I was the Minister of Agriculture, I would stop hiring these guys with qualifications that come sit in an office and come drink coffee and don't do their work. I would hire the doers, guys who get their hands dirty. I would get a team like in the Ministry of Agriculture, because I know there's forestry, there's water, and then there's livestock. I would separate four-legged and two-legged and have them run as individual departments to look at how we can improve our sector. What are we going to do to rise up to meet this new challenge? Because many people in my country, Namibia, buy chicken because chicken is cheaper compared to red meat. Not everybody can go to a shop and go buy a big packet of beef that could cost you probably a grand too. Sometimes people can go buy chicken. They opt for chicken because it's a cheaper option. It's a healthier option. But now if the prices are increasing and we can't get products through from South Africa and the local producers can't produce the quantity that's needed, we're in trouble. We're looking at tough times moving forward. And this is where you ask yourself, but where is the Ministry of Agriculture? What have they been doing for the last 10 years? I like what one guy said. One podcaster from South Africa said, he said, the problem we have is there is no continuation. You have for example, Minister Mitchell, who sets up maybe the biggest chicken farm in Namibia. He's part of the people that are setting this up. Before his term comes to an end, he hasn't yet completed building it. He's removed. They bring in another guy, and that other guy comes in with new plans and new ideas, does not proceed. Where we are being beaten by some of our Asian counterparts and also by some of our African counterparts is that they have a continuation of a program. I might come and find, like, for example, my father probably, let's use this, my father made this product, right? For example, produced this plastic water bottle, a bottle that can be used for water and juice. Now I add another sphere to it to say, rather than it just being a water bottle, it has a purifying element here. And not just that, I add the purifying element to it and probably add I'll add the purifying to it. Then my son comes in and says, besides just purifying, let's strengthen the plastic so it can take heat. And then we add a heating element here. And then his son or daughter comes in and she says, let's, rather making it see-through, let's make it biodegradable and recycle and being able to be recycled. That is how you do a continuation of a plan. We should learn from China. Our government, our ministers love going to China. They're always talking about doing business with China, but why don't we learn from the Chinese and learn about continuation? The Chinese have a 100-year plan and they're working towards it. Even the next president will come in after President Xi Jinping leaves, will come and continue on that 100-year plan. Namibia and Africa, one person starts building the road, another one comes in and says, let's not build the road, let's build a railway. Another one comes in and says, hey, leave the railway, we'll build underground railway. It's like we don't have a continuation. Everybody comes in and tries to do his own thing, where he can one day sit down and say, your dad did that, your dad did that. It's all about individualism rather than thinking about the collective. This is what I'm trying to say in this poultry industry, because I know Namibia, we don't have, I think we only set up a poultry union recently. Namibia didn't have a poultry union. Because, like I said, and I told many South Africans, I know what the rainbow chicken logo looks like. I can draw it out of my head because I've been eating rainbow chicken. So we are only catching up now to try and create now a poultry union or a poultry group or a poultry, I don't know, poultry breeders groups association or something like that in Namibia. We don't yet have that because we're over relied on South Africa. For the longest of time, many Namibian farmers were either producing chickens for their own consumption and not producing chickens to be supplied to other people. And I will try to get a hold of a poultry farmer, set up probably a meeting, a telephonic interview, and interview him about this, and then we can get more insight and more information. But with that said, and not just that, the poultry guys are also being hit hard by the price of feed. Feed is starting to increase right now because of the drought that's looming, and now these things where things are being blocked from SA. It's really going to be tough times for them. But with that said, I just want to say bye for now.